Hello and welcome to the science class. My name is Teacher John. Today we are going to learn about Science Primary 7, a topic called light. In our previous lesson we looked at what light is, importance of light. And today we are going to look at properties of light. And we have several properties of light. We have around 4 properties of light. So your heading should be properties of light. Properties of light. Properties of light. Now, we have around 4 properties of light. 1, light travels in a straight line. 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 Number 2, light travels in all directions from the source. Light travels in all directions. Light travels in all directions from the source. Number 3, light can be reflected. Light can be reflected. Light can be reflected. Number 4, light can be refracted. Light can be refracted. So these are the 4 properties of light. Light can be reflected. Light can be refracted, light travels in all directions from the source, and light travels in a straight line. Those are the 4 properties of light. Next we look at rays of light. Rays of light. What is a ray of light? A ray of light is a path taken by light. A ray is a path taken by light. A ray is a path taken by light. A ray is a path taken by light. Then we have a diagram showing a ray of light. A ray of light is a path taken by light. So this diagram shows a ray of light. This diagram shows a ray of light. So you say a ray is a path taken by light. A ray is a path taken by light. A ray is a path taken by light. So that is a ray of light. Next we look at beam of light. Beams of light. Beams of light. Beams of light. Beams of light. Now, a beam is a group of light rays traveling in the same direction. A beam is a beam of light. A beam of light is a group of light rays. Is a group of light rays traveling in the same direction. A beam of light is a group of light rays traveling in the same direction. So a group of light rays traveling in the same direction, they form what you call a beam. So one light ray is a ray. Then a group of light rays form what you call a beam of light. Next we look at types of beams of light. 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 So we have what we call parallel beam of light. Parallel beam of light. Number two, we have diverging beam of light. Number three, we have converging beam of light. Converging beam of light. So these are the three types of beams. We have parallel beam of light, diverging beam of light, converging beam of light. Let's draw a parallel beam of light. Parallel beam of light. Parallel beam of light. Parallel beam of light. With parallel beam of light, mathematics, you learned about parallel lines. These are beams of light that move in the same direction and they don't cross each other. They move in the same direction. So this is what we call parallel beam of light. So that diagram shows parallel beam of light. Next we look at number 2, we look at diverging beam of light. Diverging beam of light. Diverging beam of light. Diverging beam of light. Now, diverging beam of light, this beam, first of all, the word diverging comes from the word diverge. To diverge simply means moving from one point and you go in different directions. You move from the one point and you go in different directions. That's what we call to diverge. Come from one spot and move in different directions. So, a diverging beam, the light rays come from the same point and they move in different directions. They diverge. So that's what we call diverging beam. So we're going to draw a diverging beam. I want to have one point where these light rays come from. Called a diverging beam. So you put the arrows to show the direction in which these light rays are moving. Put the arrows, put the arrows. So this light ray is coming from one point, moving in different direction. This beam is called diverging beam. Then we look at converging beam of light. 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 Now, converging beam of light, the light rays move from different direction, moving towards one point. They come from different direction, coming to one point. From different direction, coming to one point. They are converging at one specific point. So that's what we call a diverging beam, a converging beam. So I want to draw a diagram to show converging beam. Light rays moving from different directions, coming to one particular point called converging beam. So this is a converging beam of light. Converging beam of light. Converging beam of light. So you can see these light rays are moving from different direction, coming to one specific point. So that's what you call converging beam. We look at effects of light, effects of light on different materials, or effects of different materials on light. We begin by looking at transparent objects. Transparent objects. Transparent objects. Now, transparent objects are objects that allow all light to pass through them. These are objects that allow all light to pass through them. Transparent objects are objects that allow all light to pass through them. So objects that allow all light to pass through them are called transparent objects. We look at examples of transparent objects. Examples of transparent objects. Examples of transparent objects. Examples of transparent objects. One, we have clear glass. Clear glass. Then we have clear still water. Clear still water, water which is not moving, water which is stagnant. Clear still water. Then we have air, is also an example of a transparent object. Air, or clear air, air without smoke. So air, so those are examples. You can also say clear paper, clear polyethylene paper. Clear polyethylene paper. So clear papers like the papers we pack sugar in or milk. They are you can see through them. They are called transparent objects. They are called transparent objects. All right. Then you can ask a question: why is clear glass called a transparent object? It allows all light to pass through it. Okay. You can ask a question: why is a clear glass called a transparent object? Called a transparent object. Clear glass, it allows all light to pass through it. It allows all light. It allows all light pass through it. Why is clear glass called a transparent object? It allows all light to pass through it. That's why it is called a transparent object. And why are we able to see through clear glass? Because it allows all light to pass through it. The next, you look at translucent objects or materials. Translucent materials. Translucent. Translucent materials or objects. These are materials that allow little light to pass through them. These are objects. These are objects that allow. These are objects that allow little light. That allow little light. Little light pass through them. Pass through them. These are objects that allow little light to pass through them. So those are called translucent objects. And they scatter light that passes through them. They scatter light. And say translucent objects scatter light that goes through them. They scatter light that goes through them. And that's the reason why we can't see through translucent objects. Why can't we see through translucent objects? Why can't we see through translucent objects? We can't see through translucent objects because they scatter light that passes through them. They scatter light that passes through them. So the light that goes through them is scattered. That's why we can't see through translucent objects. So look at examples of translucent objects. Examples of translucent objects. Examples of translucent objects. Examples of translucent objects. One, we have what called frosted glass. Frosted glass. Frosted glass. Number two, we have ground glass. Ground glass, colored glass, colored glass. Number 4, oily paper, oily paper. Number 5, smoky air, smoky air. Number 6, thin cloth, thin cloth. Number 7, tracing paper, tracing paper. These are examples of translucent objects. Let me begin with frosted glass. Frosted glass is they are commonly used on bathrooms. They are commonly put on bathrooms so that people cannot see through them when people are bathing. They are called frosted glass. Light can go through them, but people can't see through them because the light that goes through them is scattered in different directions. Then we have ground glass. Ground glass, glass which, the word ground is coming from the word grind. Glass which breaks but does not break completely. Like for example, the windscreen of a car. If cars get accidents, sometimes the windscreen the glass can break but it does not fall. It breaks and remains there. So you can't see through, but light can pass through. That's ground glass. Then colored glass, oily paper, a paper with oil, smoky air, thin cloth, tracing paper. Those ones are called translucent objects because they allow little light to pass through them, but we cannot see through them. Then they ask you effects of light on translucent objects. These translucent objects allow light to pass through them, and they diffuse or they scatter light that passes through them. That's the effect. Then we look at opaque objects. Opaque objects. Opaque objects. Now, opaque objects are materials that do not allow any light to go through them. These are materials that do not allow any light, to go through them. These are materials that do not allow any light to go through them. Do not allow any light to go through them. So they are called opaque objects. Examples of opaque objects. Examples of opaque objects. Examples of opaque objects. Now, opaque objects, we have a wall, like a brick wall, rock or rocks, stones, wood or wooden objects, some plastic materials, books, metals, human body, metals, human body. All those are called they're called opaque objects. Then we have hard paper. Can even add plastic. They are called opaque objects because they do not allow any light to pass through them. Then next we look at the effects of opaque objects on light. What is the effect of opaque objects on light? What is the effect? What is the effect of opaque objects? What is the effect of opaque objects on light? One is that they obstruct light and form shadows They obstruct light and form shadows. That's the effect. They obstruct light. In other words, they prevent light from passing through them, and when light is obstructed, a shadow will be formed. Then, you can also ask this question: what is the effect of light? No, what is the effect of translucent objects on light? What is the effect of translucent objects on light? What is the effect of translucent objects on light? They scatter light that goes through them. They scatter light that goes through them. They scatter light that goes through them. So it is as simple as that. And what is the effect of opaque objects on light? They obstruct light and form shadows. So that one brings us to what you call shadows. So we look at shadows. So we are going to look at shadows. We shall begin by looking at what a shadow is. What is a shadow? A shadow is a region of darkness caused by obstruction of light by an opaque object. Remember, we just said opaque objects obstruct light and form shadows. So it's a region of darkness caused by obstruction of light by an opaque object. How are shadows formed? Shadows are formed by obstruction of light by an opaque object. Parts of a shadow, we have umbra shadow, penumbra shadow. Those are the two parts of a shadow. Umbra shadow is the darker part of a shadow. Umbra shadow is the darker part of a shadow. And how is umbra shadow formed? Umbra shadow is formed by total obstruction of light. When all light is blocked or obstructed, umbra shadow will be formed. Then you have what you call penumbra shadow. Penumbra shadow is the lighter part of a shadow. And how is penumbra shadow formed? Penumbra shadow is formed by partial obstruction of light. Partial obstruction of light simply means that not all light is blocked or obstructed. Some light is obstructed and another one is not obstructed. So if you look at this diagram, it's showing parts of a shadow. We have the penumbra shadow and the umbra shadow. You can see umbra shadow is total darkness. Then penumbra is light. Then you look at eclipse. What is an eclipse? An eclipse is a natural shadow formed by obstruction of sunlight by either the moon or the earth. So when the earth or the moon blocks sunlight, the shadow which is formed is called an eclipse. So an eclipse is a natural shadow formed by obstruction of sunlight by either the moon or the earth. We have types of eclipse: solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. What is solar eclipse? Solar eclipse is the eclipse of the sun. And how is it formed? It is formed when the moon comes in between the sun and the earth. So when the moon comes in between the sun and the earth, the eclipse which is formed is called solar eclipse. If you look at this diagram, we have the sun, the moon, and the earth. The moon is in between the sun and the earth, and the eclipse that is formed is called solar eclipse. Then you can see the umbra shadow, this total eclipse, the total obstruction of sunlight by the moon. So the earth does not receive light because there's total obstruction, and this total obstruction of light forms the eclipse. This shadow is called umbra shadow. Then the lighter part of a shadow that is formed there is called penumbra shadow. So that's a diagram showing solar eclipse. So next we look at lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse, or the eclipse of the moon. So we have lunar eclipse, also known as the eclipse of the moon. Lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse is the eclipse of the moon. Lunar eclipse is the eclipse of the moon. This is the eclipse. This is the eclipse of the moon. This is the eclipse of the moon. This is the eclipse of the moon, and it's formed when the earth comes in between the sun and the moon. It is formed when the earth earth comes in between, the sun and the moon. So when the earth comes in between the sun and the moon, they form what we call a lunar eclipse. So I'm going to do a diagram showing lunar eclipse. I'll do a diagram show lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipse. So this is the sun, the moon, and the earth. No, this is the sun, this is the moon, this is the earth, then the moon. Because we say lunar eclipse is formed when the earth is in between the sun and the moon. So this is umbra shadow. This one is penumbra shadow. This type of eclipse is called lunar eclipse. It is formed when the earth is in between the sun and the moon. It is formed when the earth is in between the sun and the moon. So this type of eclipse is called lunar eclipse. So please, there's an activity on page 7. Please try to attempt the activity basing on what we have learned today. May the Almighty God bless you abundantly. Thank you.